Fidelity is a poem by William Wordsworth. It talks about the faith or faithfulness of a dog to its owner. Today, people are arguing on various statements, but how do people understand democracy and what happens to democracy, particularly in India? You will have assignments 1 and assignment 2 to write, and they carry 10 marks each. So total, you have 40 marks in your internal assessment tests. Good morning, students. I am Anil, Assistant Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today, we are going to look at the syllabus for the first semester B.Ca students of Mysore University. For this semester, you have poetry and you have prose and some language component part. In the poetry section, you have 8 poems. First one is When in Disgrace by William Shakespeare. It talks about the human side of sadness. So how one feels sad and what makes one happy. And here he talks about friendship of two people. Fidelity is a poem by William Wordsworth. It talks about the faith or faithfulness of a dog to its owner. And Refugee Blues talks about the problem of refugees in the world. The Cold Within talks about the coldness of human beings. We are not open to everybody. The next one, Freedom, is a poem by Rabindranath Tagore. It talks about our psychological freedom. Though we get freedom to act what we want, but how are we in chains in our psychological state? The Man He Killed is a poem of war and the effect of war by Thomas Hardy. The Quiet Life, Alexander Pope. It talks about the quietness one requires when somebody is not happy with what is happening in one's life. And there is one more poem by George Herbert, that is Pulley. It talks about how God has blessed man with everything and he hides something from him because he wants man to love him. Therefore, these poems you will learn in this semester, 8 poems. Coming to the prose part, you have an essay by George Orwell. He talks about what is science. When somebody tells you that somebody is a scientist, what comes to your mind? And how does this man, George Orwell, argues what actual science is? This is a wonderful prose part. And you have a comic short story with the photographer by Stephen Leacock. This is a story of a man who is really ugly and he goes to the studio and you will come to know what happens in that studio. Then there is Fool's Paradise by Isaac Bashevis Singer. This is the story which makes us realize if you simply sit idle, what happens to one's psychological state. And the last one is The Prospect of Democracy in India by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Today, people are arguing on various statements, but how do people understand democracy and what happens to democracy, particularly in India? There is an argument by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in this speech. We'll look at all these things in detail in the next sessions. In the language component part, you have punctuation. You have been learning punctuation from your lower classes, but still most of you commit mistakes while writing sentences using punctuation, marks, etc. We will learn in detail what are punctuation and where to use it. Or recall whatever we have learned and start using it. Then we come to articles. Articles you definitely know. One is definite and the indefinite. There are 3 articles. Coming to preposition, where are we going to use and what are prepositions? These things you learn in detail. Coming to the most important one, verb in relation to tense, person and number of subject. That is subject-verb agreement or we call as concord. These things are there for you in this semester. This syllabus may appear too much for you, but it is a cake for you people. Coming to the formative assessment, that is your internals. Your internals carries 40 marks. So this 40 marks is divided into first internal test, which is conducted for 30 marks and reduced to 10. Then you have second internal test, again 30 marks reduced to 10. Then you have either test or assignment. You will have assignments 1 and assignment 2 to write, and they carry 10 marks each. So total, you have 40 marks in your internal assessment tests. Finally, your final examination, that is semester examination, semester final exam, not the yearly annual exam. Coming to the pattern of question paper, you will have first main for 8 marks. You will have 12 questions. You have to answer 8 questions out of 12. Then reference to context, you have 6 questions in total and you have to answer 3. Then you have 4 questions and 2 you have to write, and then out of 4 you have to answer 2. Then from grammar you will have total 20 marks, 20 and 20 and 20. So totally you will have 60 marks. So 60 plus 40, it comes to 100. So this is how your first internal question paper pattern is. So in this semester you will have 8 poems, 4 prose part and some language component, and we have already discussed the question paper pattern and your internal assessment test pattern. Keeping all these things in mind, we will go in detail with all the poetry and prose part and language component. We will meet in the next class. Thank you.